My mother thinks she's dead. My mother has been acting strange lately. She's no longer her bright, cheery self. She sits in her chair, crouched in a fetal position. When she walks, she paces slowly, shifting her weight from side to side. My dad, my sister, and I have been trying to help her get better, but nothing seems to work. We've tried to get her to talk about what she's feeling, and all she says is that she's dead. She doesn't mean dead inside, but literally dead. She asks us how we don't know that. We keep telling her that she isn't dead, and that she's right here, but she keeps denying it. Mother has been making weird demands. She wants us to find her body, give her a funeral, and let her go. She says she sees her skin decomposing and smells her decaying body in the forest. I keep asking her what she's talking about. She refers to a night she came home late after meeting friends. She arrived around 11 p.m., and we assumed she had lost track of time. The strange thing was that her car was nowhere to be found. We asked her if she walked home, and she told us she died in a wreck. According to her, she slid off the road, and her car tipped over. The impact killed her, she says. We've been trying to convince her that she's alive, but nothing is helping. Then I got a call from the police. The officer on the line said that a car was found on the side of the road, tipped over. The person inside, who had been dead for days, fit my mother's description. They wanted someone to come to the morgue and identify the body. I was frozen with uncertainty after hanging up. My mother walked up to me, and I felt a cold draft wafting through my body. "See you at the funeral" was the last thing she said before she evaporated into the thin, cold air. Journal of a Haunting: The Disappearance of Rachel Currid, December 22nd, 2020, 11:22 p.m. I keep having dreams about a girl who went missing from my high school. I'm 24 years old now and live across the country from my hometown, so I haven't really thought about high school for almost a decade. But recent events have got me racking my brain for those memories. Every night for the past 6 nights, I've been having these dreams that seem to retell a story, always taking place in my old high school, and always involving the same girl, Rachel Currid. Rachel went missing when I was a senior, and she was a junior. I didn't know her very well. From what little I knew, she was pretty reserved and private, only associating with a select group of people. Nobody knew much about her, except that she came from a wealthy family, and that her older brother, Carson, had a history of troublemaking and violence at the school. Shortly before Rachel's disappearance, Carson was pulled out of school and sent to some kind of mental institution with no explanation. Some adults rumored that his violent tendencies became too much for their parents to handle. After he was sent away, Rachel didn't come to school for 2 weeks. The day Rachel returned was eventful, to say the least. I remember the shock I felt when I saw her walking down the hall for the first time in 2 weeks, and then the dread that replaced it when I saw the bruises on her exposed skin and her sunken eyes. Rachel's eyes never left the floor. Halfway through the day, a police officer showed up and pulled Rachel out of class. Apparently, the school faculty had reported her repeated absences with little response, but the physical state she showed up in that day was enough for the police to investigate. And that was the last time I ever saw Rachel. The last time anyone at school saw her, actually. She never returned to class, and a week later, she was reported missing by her parents. They never found her. I remember hearing the news and fearing for my life, finding it hard to believe that something like this could happen in a town that was so normal. 8 years later, I've tried everything to block those memories out, to erase the guilt that still gnaws at my stomach when I'm trying to fall asleep because I could have done something, but I didn't. And now here I am, unable to sleep, because every time I close my eyes, I see Rachel. Maybe I'm slowly losing it due to sleep deprivation, but I can't help but feel like these dreams mean something, almost like she's trying to tell me something. Last night's dream was of a class that Rachel and I had together in high school. It was surreal to see her alive and well in such a normal setting after all this time. The dream seemed to be moving forward in chronological order of my memories, and I can't help but dread what I already know is going to happen. I'm afraid to sleep, but I know I need to see her again. December 23rd, 2020, 9:34 a.m. I saw her again. But this time, everything about the dream was different. It was dark and distorted, like something out of a fever dream, and the sound of loud screaming filtered in and out of my ears constantly. I found myself in an unfamiliar room, some sort of living room, adorned with expensive furniture. I heard a loud crash and saw Rachel's brother, Carson. Why is he here? He screamed and was throwing things around the room. Rachel was there too, trying to stop him. Carson grabbed her by the neck and threw her into the glass coffee table, shattering it instantly. I stood frozen as Rachel writhed on the floor in pain, Carson breathing heavily in the corner of the room. A woman, presumably Rachel's mother, came into the room and looked around. Without saying a word, she walked over to her son and gently grabbed his arm, leading him away from the scene, leaving Rachel there alone. I don't know what to make of this dream. Did this actually happen to Rachel? Is this what caused Carson to be sent away? I have so many questions. Nothing makes sense anymore. December 23rd, 2020, 5:46 p.m. I've been doing research on the Currid family all day. I couldn't focus on anything else if I tried. Their family is enormous and much richer than I thought. Apparently the father is a corporate lawyer and a well-known figure in the political world. The only public information I could find about Rachel were her academic awards and pictures from Currid family events. I think she used to have a Facebook, but her family must have deleted it. I found almost nothing about Carson online. No school records, no family portraits, no social media platforms, nothing. It almost seems like he was trying to stay out of the public eye. After searching on her mother's Facebook page, I found a long message post from around 8 years ago. It explained why Carson was pulled out of school, giving a sugar-coated version of his mental health issues that led them to send him to a psychiatric hospital in Pennsylvania. In the post, she gave the name of the psychiatric hospital. In desperation, I searched for the number and gave them a call. They couldn't tell me much because of confidentiality, but they did tell me one important thing. Carson Currid is not a patient there. He has never been a patient there. They have no record of him. His parents are lying. They're covering something up, I know it. If he didn't go to a psychiatric hospital, where did he go? What does this family have to hide? Maybe I'm going crazy. December 24th, 2020, 4:56 a.m. The dreams are getting more intense, more real. Fate is trying to tell me something in some twisted, confusing way. When I opened my eyes in the dream, it was dark. I saw Rachel stumbling through the forest, the overcast moon, making it almost impossible to see. I followed her, but my legs weren't moving. It was like I was experiencing it without fully being there, with no control over my body. Eventually, she walked into a clearing that turned into a cliff overlooking a lake. This place felt familiar. There was someone waiting for her. It was Carson. He looked distraught. I could barely hear their conversation. They spoke in hushed voices. Carson wanted to run away and skip town. He knew where his parents planned to send him. Because he overheard their conversation, he sounded regretful, like he was scared by the things he had done. Rachel wanted to go with him. She begged him to take her, but he insisted she wouldn't be safe with him. She agreed to let him go on the condition that they would meet at that spot once a week to check in. I woke up in a cold sweat. Carson skipped town, and his parents must have covered it up to avoid a scandal. If the timeline of these dreams aligns with the actual timeline, Rachel is going to disappear soon. I'm running out of time. I need to know the truth, but I don't know if I can save her. Why is this happening to me? I think my next dream will be my last one. December 25th, 2020, 1:07 p.m. I have never been so horrified in my life. There's no way this is happening. I cannot believe or explain what I've just seen in my dream. I'm still trying to process if what I saw was real. I opened my eyes in the dream and was back at the cliff in the forest. Rachel was there too, sitting on the ground, looking scared. Carson appeared from the other side of the clearing, visibly upset. Rachel began to shake and stood up. He immediately started yelling at her, screaming that she was a traitor and just as bad as them. Rachel had told her parents where Carson was staying. They called the police and gave them the address. The police came to his apartment, but he climbed down the fire escape and came straight here. Rachel began to cry. She had been worried about him. He hadn't contacted her in days, and she was worried something had happened to him. So she broke and told their parents. Carson didn't care. He was too far gone into his fit of rage to understand her true intentions. Without warning, he began to attack her, punching and kicking her repeatedly as she begged him to stop. Eventually, he grew tired and left her lying there, bloody and alone. I tried to scream for her, but no noise came out of my mouth. I closed my eyes and opened them again. I was walking down the hallway of my high school. Everyone was staring at me strangely, and I didn't know why. I walked into the girls' bathroom and glanced up into the mirror. I was not prepared to see the face of Rachel Currid staring back at me. My exposed face and neck were covered in dark bruises. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up as I began to realize the situation I was in. This is the day Rachel came back to school, the day she went missing. I'm reliving this day through Rachel's eyes. Why hasn't this happened until now? I stumbled away from the mirror, swinging the bathroom door open, only to be met by a police officer. He gently grabbed my upper arm and told me in a low voice that I needed to come with him. I closed my eyes and opened them. I was in an interrogation room at the police station. They asked me about Carson. They asked about the bruises, too. They knew I knew where Carson was. They knew he did this to me. I wanted to tell them what happened so badly. I wanted to tell them what was going to happen to me. But I couldn't. Man in the basement. When I was about 16, I was babysitting for a family friend. I took the girl, Maddie, outside to play on the swing set in the backyard. It was getting pretty dark, around 8 or 8:30. I started getting a weird feeling, like we were being watched. I looked around and didn't see anyone, but I was still freaked out. So I took her inside since she had to go to bed soon anyway. I put her to sleep at around 9 and started watching TV in the living room. About 10 minutes later, I heard rustling outside the house. Stupidly, I went to check it out. I didn't see anything, so I just assumed it was an animal and went back inside. About 20 minutes later, I heard footsteps from Maddie's room. I went upstairs to put her back to bed. I opened her door and saw that she was still fast asleep. It was dark in the room, but I could see some shapes because of the light from the window. In the corner, I noticed a shadowy silhouette kneeling. I immediately turned on the light and saw an actual man there. He tried to run out the door, but I kicked him in the groin. I called the police, and it turned out the man had been living in the basement for about 6 months. He had been sneaking in and out through a hole in the side of the house, watching the family while they were outside and even while they slept. I haven't babysat since.